All right. So this is our part 3 of deconstructing radical honesty and apparently other cults.
We already started.
So we're just catching up with Rose about, how's life, and Rose just started talking about this course from Seek Safely that she's attending by the landmark forum. What is it? Like the exiters, people who exited.
The landmark whistleblower, yeah, Anne Peterson.
Yeah, who I actually wanted to talk about because I was just watching Interview with Andy. It's like the third episode of the interview, and I'm just started to subscribe to this YouTube channel called Life After Landmarks. I'm like really learning about large group awareness trainings and the dynamics and landmark and businesses and Scientology and like the whole thing, the human potential movement and everything that intertwines. And so Rose is doing the course with Anne Peterson that she also promotes in the series that she's taking, like that she's being interviewed about. So of course I'm curious, and Rose is already naming red flags of like there's no information before joining the course. What kind of course is this gonna be? Can we read?
Yeah, it didn't state about the fact before the course started. It didn't say whether it was going to be interactive or that you had to have your video on. That was the expectations. That was only made clear on the call that that's what they wanted. And by that time had happened, I was already logged in with my daughter. And I had my camera off because it's a public recording that would be sold. The call would be sold, and I didn't want her face on the camera. And of course, that wasn't at all yeah, this is a very common thread as well with human potential movementy stuff, is that there actually isn't a lot of consideration made for parents with young kids, because typically parents with young children aren't involved with these workshops because there's a whole thing about it is very rare because you are not an individual when you're with a young child. You are you are a dyad in so many ways. So you can't really partake in these belief systems because they're so individualistic, and quite often that means parents of young kids are really left behind in a lot of these courses in the way that other courses cater for people that have kids at home and say things like if we're like, I've bought courses before where they said up front, this is an interactive course. If you've got young kids, organize a babysitter. We want you to be there and present with your camera on. So yeah, that wasn't made clear, and it was only during the call that it was made clear about the agreements after we'd all already joined. And again, it wasn't a process of like, do we agree, do we disagree. It was like, this is the agreements after you've all paid and joined.
So these are not agreements; those are non-negotiables.
Yes. Yeah.
So she's repeating the same culty stuff that she is promoting, that she is deconstructing or helping survivors to deconstruct.
Yeah.
Not cool. But
Yeah.
hey, I've done a bunch of mistakes myself, so who am I to judge? I'm just happy to know that I wouldn't join her course just yet.
Just, yeah, I think that's the key part though, right? Like, this is, I think, what happens when people smell fire and jump ship and then start their own, and they haven't fully deconstructed everything. So there is like really good intention there. It's coming from it's the other thing is it's very she made it very clear on the call, like this very made us feel very special, that we are now in a niche because people are waking up to the dangers in the human potential movement. So if you say that you're aware of this stuff, it will put you at an advantage of other coaches. So it got also kind of got turned into like a little bit of love bombing, a little bit of like the same things of like you know
We're superior, us versus them.
or just a little markety, like yeah, some element of like, use this to be a better coach because you've paid for this and it has the branding. I don't really know how to put it into words, but
Okay, so she's talking about the fact that when,
wait, are you recording?
oh yeah, I am.
You are.
That's
All right. Okay. Okay.
So she's talking about the fact that everything is about me as a participant. And then when you want to join the company, it flips 100, 306, what is it, like 180%.
Mm-hmm.
degree where everything is about the company and you're responsible for the brand. And so
Mm-hmm.
you need to like, you are like, it's all about the version of the being, right? It's like you have to embody the landmark way. It's like you have to change your beingness, and that change of beingness is the new identity, which is the identity of the founder of the Werner Erhard.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying his name incorrectly? I don't give a shit. He's a douche.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie, like I'll call him Bernie. Remember. And so she's talking about how suddenly everything that you do, you have to be responsible not for yourself, not for the people, but to keep the company like
Mm-hmm.
well and the name well, and you're the embodiment of the landmark trademark. So I don't know, just something that you when you talked about that course, about it's about marketing and something like the branding, just like I've heard
Yeah.
something similar
She
from
might
her.
be so brainwashed in already doing that for Landmark that now she's very like just getting super enthusiastic about Seek Safely and using the same very good techniques that she's had to do the same thing with Seek Safely, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm grappling with this course is that I think the people there and her leading it seem to very much be like with the thought that they all can still teach human potential movement stuff um, ethically, safely, and I think that's the issue. Like it's not quite deconstructing the beliefs of the movement, or like it's just going straight into it's just the marketing that's wrong. It's just the um, people that are selling the workshops aren't being truthful about their credentials and things like that. And when and that was kind of funny for I don't know how it was for you, but definitely that's how it was for me. That I was there was a surface where I was like, this has all kind of been done in a way that like most organizations don't sell products. So there's an issue here. And then I was also like, well, if I just went and taught it different, like if I just taught it in a way that was more like industry regulated level, then it would be fine. And then like as I started to try and create something, it was like this is so full of holes. Like the whole and then reading more about the human potential lineage, realizing that it's such an amalgamation of shit. Like it's mostly philosophy that hasn't been proven, tested, disproven, and just people have run away with. Like it's like an amalgamation of religions, is the way that I like think about it. It's just belief systems.
So as you started to look a little bit deeper
Mm-hmm.
before before the amalgamations of religion.
Yeah. So at the surface level was like the way we are teaching these workshops in the personal development industry is flawed, and we could be more ethical and we could add more regulation and be better with our marketing. And that was like I was like, yeah, I'm on board with that. Like we could be better with our agreements, we could be um not so pervasive with marketing and using people's like really really weak vulnerable spots and then trying to sell them something. I was like, yeah, that's the main issues. And then as I got a bit deeper, it was trying to, and then I thought I could still probably teach these workshops but teach them in a way that's more, yeah, I don't know, like a better way to market them essentially, and
Mhm.
better way to hold spaces. And then when I started to get into the meat of what I wanted to teach, I it was so slippery. Like every concept was really hard to hold on to. It felt like I was teaching an amalgamation of like bastardized religions. Like none of them was one source of truth. It was just so many different versions of something. They all contradicted each other, and none of them were evidence based or tested. In that it's philosophy. It's like literature. It's writing. It's people talking about their feelings and thoughts. And there's no kind of study that using this type of talking actually helps anyone, or that there's like no outcome that's been recorded, like X amount of people did this training and these were the outcomes that we were testing for success. Like no tests exist. It's just yeah, it just feels like a lot of human potential movementy workshops are they just you can't touch them.
That's why Brad told you that if you want to teach radical honesty, you need to study existential philosophy.
Yes, that's right.
Because that's what it
Go
is.
study philosophy for fucking philosophy. I know. I mean, And it was a perfect time, like for all this the HPM movementy stuff to come in, because I've thought about it in like the 60s, post Second World War, like, you know, suddenly there's peace and there is time to like start thinking about meaning and what it's all for. And
And
um,
what kind of world we want to create now that there's peace and resources. Now we're rebuilding. It's the new
yeah.
beginning. Hmm.
And the pill has arrived. Voila, we can put women on, we can control, a woman can take control of over their fertility. What an amazing thing. Women can be individuals for this like longer period of time than historically we were maybe individuals, you know, young women, then maybe like a few years of independence, and then you are a mother essentially in a different way for men, in the carrying all the risks of the pregnancy and then the infant. Like you just cannot be a one person. You are so tied to other people.
Yeah.
um, so I think there was a mixture of like post-war, you know, trying to find more meaning, add the pill, and you've got this just like hyper narcissism. And then the human potential movement just picked that up and ran with it, and that's how we've got
And included acid and MDMA and other drugs.
yeah,
Plus, um, there was opening for traveling with planes, and then you have the influx of self-proclaimed gurus from India and
yeah.
from Asia going to America, teaching new way of life and having the cure for the American suffering. And then, yeah.
You know, I was thinking earlier today that because I keep starting writing why I left radical honesty, and then I write something else like the lies that radical honesty tells, and then I'll start writing something else. Like I have all these different subjects that I want to
Mhm.
put down, and then
Mhm.
I started writing something from the perspective of the clerk in Brad Blanton's biography. He tells a story about how he didn't want to pay his taxes,
Mhm.
and he then eventually he got told that he had to pay his taxes or else he'd get in trouble. So he walks into an office, and I'm like, imagine you're this clerk, you're a public, what's it called, public servant. You've just gone to your job. It's like you're fucking at work, you know. It's not like your dream place in the world, especially I imagine this was probably like the 80s or something, so it's not like gorgeous buildings, you know, minimalist light, you know, it's just a shitty office. And this guy walks in with this massive bag of quarters and dumps it on your desk and holds something like, there you fucking go, there's my taxes, you dickhead. And then like walks out, and you're left like picking up all these little coins because this asshole just walked in. And that was Brad Blanton that walked in, and that's the guy that's telling everyone to be abusively radically honest, and that's exactly the narcissist that is going around telling everyone to behave like that. Like it just doesn't work with other people that are just trying to get on with their lives. And I was just thinking, like, that poor guy, girl, or whoever, it was just trying to get on with their day, and you just have this horrible customer service experience.
Yeah. That's a very good point because I am also I remember that story from Brad's biography. Um, I've never actually thought about from the clerk's perspective because I bought into Brad's perspective of like the government is evil and they just want to take advantage, and everybody's like no 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 no. It's like listening to my dad who's 60 now, he's a pension, like he's in his pension, and he talks about the like horrible like conspiracy theories. He's 60
Mm.
fucking 6. He you know, it's like my grandparents as well. They're like delusional because they don't want like I don't know, it's like old man fart talk.
But it's also so, I think it's so spoiled because it's like, oh, everyone else has to behave in order for that person to get to be able to act like that. Because if
Mm-hmm.
everyone acted like that, it would be carnage. There would not be peace or like structure or like organizations working properly or any sort of the benefits that those tax systems then put back into the community to support, you know, all the other, you know, fine, they're supporting the Vietnam War, which is what he was protesting about, but like what about all the other things that the tax system is meant to support? I think it's like a spoilt child. And then you get like the average person just coming in to make their living, do their work, and then go home to their family. And yeah, there's I find it such like I'm finding more and more that the people that are involved with HPM philosophy, particularly, are this like type of elitist upper middle class who can afford to be like this, because like working class, no way, you just got to get on with your day. You don't have the like luxury or privilege to like sit down and think about existential philosophy and be rude to the people around you, and they won't give you a hard time for it.
Yeah. If everybody acted like the way Brad acted, or I'm just thinking when I think about Andrew Tate in the 70s is sorry, Brad Blandon in the 70s is Andrew Tate in 2021 or something. Like if you have these kind of people behaving everywhere, then you would have the survivors, the bully will win, and the people who are vulnerable, different, underprivileged, people of color,
Yeah.
um, the you know everyone from the marginalized groups, they will not survive.
No.
That's it, they will be enslaved by the bullet, which is like a very similar system right now under Trump. I don't know, I think
Yeah.
it's like, oh, bringing back the authoritarian regimes, basically the loudest bully in the group wins and gets his way, which is what authoritarian regimes are for. And
Mm. Yeah.
I wanted to share about the agreements because it took me a while to, so in January I've learned that this is a cult. I did not like, okay, cult is bad, but I didn't really know what a cult is. But it kind
Mm.
of justified for me all the things, all the bad things that I keep seeing and addressing, and I was either dissed or there was like just silence. And I was like, okay, so this is a cult. And I started digging, but only like 6 months after my own retreat, my one of the last retreat that I was teaching, I witnessed what was the problem, or like how we like lock people in and why participants regress into children and consciousness, and they become this like, tell me what to do. um and I was like, oh shit, that's agreements, how we get people in, like we, yeah, how we seal them, sort of according to Lifton's model of brainwashing. um Oh no, that was even before. Okay, so I was in Lithuania, I was dealing with some psychopathic person, like someone like a predator, right? And he screwed me over. And I was reading, my sister is a lawyer, so she's like, here's the laws, read, right? And I was reading the laws about coercive control and
Mm.
about commerce and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, shit, the way we do agreements is against the law, against
Mm.
the European law. And I already knew that if I'm gonna bring this up, nobody will listen to me or they will make a problem. How is this personal for you? It's just your fear, it's like, how is this blah, blah, blah. So they will make it into my own psychotherapy if I bring it up.
Yeah.
So I send a message to my Marvin, my co-trainer, and I said, I'm not willing to do these agreements because they're coercive and they're against the commerce laws. And it's like this is bad under the European law. And that's when he brought it to the board and then got back to me saying, oh, some of us knew the agreements are bad and some of us are not even using the agreements anymore. So he made it into this thing where I didn't even need to use the agreements. Nobody knows why did you even use the agreements. We
Mm.
like in radical honesty, the board members already knew that the agreements are bad and are not necessary, right? It's like a few years ago, like Brad and everyone were pushing to use the agreements, and there was like they spent so much time convincing us, the entering trainers, the new trainers, the trainer candidates, why these agreements make sense, and we really had to like think and like really had to buy into it, which I did. I was very diligent at some point in like buying everything that I had to.
Yeah. Not just that we had to learn it to understand it, but before that we were participants, and the only way we could even be in the workshops is if we agreed to them. So
Yeah,
there was like a double locking down. It's like we've been to all these workshops, and the fact that we were there means we had to adhere to them. And then in order to teach them, we also had to like double down and believe them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, he said that. He said that a lot of people disagreed. Fucking hell.
Yeah, and so even in afterwards, so it was like, and afterwards the way they made what is it, like the public announcement about the one that Marvin wrote together with Leia. Marvin wrote like, yeah, of course we already knew, and some trainers stopped using agreements a long time ago. And I'm like, why nobody informed me? It's probably
Mm-hmm.
because it's not true. But it's like, yes, it's like obviously you're trying to save your self-image. But the reason why the whole conversation about the agreement started was because I was dealing with fucking criminals in Lithuania, and I was honest, and I use resentment, and I provide, like, I was vulnerable with a fucking pathological asshole who took advantage and used my vulnerability because I wanted to process and have calls. So I had no evidence to prove about his abuse to the authorities. And I blame it. I blame it to radical honest. It's like this whole
Yeah.
brainwashing that where I believe that we're equal in an equal relationship with this guy, when in reality we're not.
Yeah.
So
Oh, this reminds me. I dipped my toe out and did a little like taster workshop last weekend, and the whole point of it's this thing that I'm starting, and it's called the Honesty Project, and the whole idea, and it was really clear at the beginning that like um, I, I think teaching people to be honest is a scam. People will be honest when they feel safe. So instead, the whole workshop is like, how can you create pockets of honesty in your life? Like, how can you create my things like the We Honesty Shed? How can you make your own We Honesty Sheds in your life? Um, and it was really fun and it was really interactive and it was mostly just asking other people what they thought. But at one point, someone said that her son is on the spectrum and he is very very honest and it worries her because she thinks that makes him very vulnerable
mhm.
and she was saying like you're basically just like asking about that to the group and that was the biggest like reinforcing that I wanted her to take from that was like yes you need to like you do need to protect your son because being honest all the time means that other people will take advantage of that. It does put you in a very very vulnerable position and I'm like super ashamed that that was the message that I was putting out there for so long or like kind of not quite explicitly, but giving the bias, like enforcing the bias on people that if you go out and be honest, wonderful things will happen to you, rather than yeah, people will take advantage. Like that's also not not to excuse it like that's just nature, but that it's just how it happens. Like people will take advantage of vulnerable, gullible people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also speaking about, so once the agreements came down, the same guy, so Misha, who wrote this wonderful email saying, hey, Brad, your agreements are fascist and we don't need fascist agreement in a workshop that blah, blah, blah. Something like people, we can trust people's autonomy and blah, blah, blah. Um, so he contacted me saying, hey, can we organize a radical honesty workshop where we turn agreements into intentions? And I was like, I was at that point also thinking, yeah, marketing is shit. So this is an MLM, right? It's like
Yeah.
this is a horrible organization, abusive through and through because of the Brad's influence and culture that's come from the
HPN.
HPM, Human Potential Movement. And I was like, okay, I am like, it's possible for me to teach radical honesty without taking down the coercion and taking away the agreements, making the intentions something that's similar that I have done in the past before I decided to become a trainer and I had to like adapt their ways. But something did not sit with me well, and I'm glad that I did not agree to teach with him radical honesty with agreements being intentions, because eventually I've learned that radical honesty doesn't exist, right? It's like it's a like you said, it's contradicting, it's philosophy. There's no truth behind those statements that we're saying. Like it's the feeling knowledge that we give to people because we evoke sensations in their voice the way we speak and with the whole container. There's no essence in the actual radical honesty. So I'm glad that I waited for fucking
Mm-hmm.
year to arrive at the point of like, oh, the whole thing is actually a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Just
they're
treat
still teaching it.
yeah. That's a really good point. Just yeah, it's just a kind of space to create triggering moments and then make people pay attention to being triggered,
Yeah.
or yeah, pay attention to distress. And yeah, it's so. Uh, I've left with this distrust in my body now because there is such a bias in the teaching that's like your body tells the truth, and that's just not true. Like we have this really strong cognition because we've evolved to believe ourselves. We have to. We'll go crazy if we don't. So we'll justify our behavior. We'll justify how we feel, and that doesn't mean it's the truth. It's just us convincing ourselves of how we feel, essentially.
Yeah. Um,
Thinking of it from like I don't know if I told you this one already, but at the Wheel of Consent workshop, someone walked past Burger King. Did I tell you this?
no.
Oh, this is a good story. This is a great story. You'll love this. She walked past Burger King and was like, oh, like she could smell the fries in the air, and she listened to her body, and her body said she needed fries, so she listened to her body and got the fries. And I'm like, that is not like your body's not telling you that. That is like big industry taking advantage of all the psychological tricks so that you will buy their product. Like the smells that are being wafted out of the nasty building. Well, sorry, it's not nasty. I think it's nasty, but they'll have made it beautiful, so it looks like exactly what you need it to look like to think that you're hungry. It'll smell like exactly what you need to smell for your gut to start processing all the enzymes and make you prepared for food. When you walk in, it'll be perfectly designed to like hijack your psychology so that you walk in a way that also makes you see the menu and the prices that are affordable for you. Like you are completely overtaken. It's not a choice with things like marketing.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We don't consent to something when we're being controlled.
Yeah, and I think that's another very dangerous lesson that comes with this listen to your body shit, because yeah, we're getting hijacked. I mean, it's a really strange time to be alive with that message because we're getting hijacked constantly by our attention. So it's hard to trust if we actually want something, or if we're like it's the data brokers in the background going, look, she's on her phone, send her that thing now because she'll be on day 3 of her menstrual cycle and in the mood to buy something. We just
Yeah.
won't have any control over it.
Yes, on that note of listening to your body, so when I was in Costa Rica leading a retreat where the guy that I dated at the time kind of screwed me over and left me hanging in the continent by myself, I felt so shocked and lost and did not know what to do with myself. I was so stressed that I did not eat or sleep. Like I could my like the shock was so strong that I couldn't fall asleep because you know stress was triggered and I couldn't eat.
Mm.
And I was sitting there and I was talking with my co-trainer. I was forcing myself to eat. So I would eat like an egg a day for the whole time that I was there. I was like, I'm glad that I'm not listening to my body because I would just not eat and I would not sleep. I would probably die if I listened to my body right now because I was forcing myself. I was taking melatonin to fall asleep, right?
Mm.
I was so distraught that I would have starved myself. And I had to turn on the discipline and do what I thought was good for me, which is to eat. And my co-trainer was like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good time to not listen to your body. And I was like, okay, so this is the like I am the example where the theory of radical honesty that you lead your life with your body completely falls flat. It's not true.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I imagine the reverse is true too, that like yeah, looking after your body sometimes does suck. Like going to bed early when you want to stay up, or not drinking, or not smoking, or got an airplane going over me, or having to force yourself to go do a gym class that's hard because you want to stay fit. Like yeah, that's all examples of having to use discipline to overcome what's the word, pleasure as well, like following the, because that's another thing that's common with radical honesty, that people follow these pleasure instincts too, and then end up cheating on partners, end up doing sexual things that they didn't actually really want to do. They're just trying to follow their desire. Yeah, it's follow encouraging people to follow the most animalistic urges when we don't live in an animal society is is a recipe for disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's something that I wanted to say and I forgot about that. Ah, right. So now that it's like I've spent 9 years in the cultiverse, so everybody in my closest circle are in some kind of cults, or they have attended cults, they might be in cults or left cults, but like everybody is brainwashed by some kind of theory. And many of the people are struggling with their relationships. Probably almost everyone in my circle struggles with relationships. Maybe that's why I focus on fixing relationships, because there's so many problems. And one of the things that I tend to pay attention is how they describe how they choose their partner, for example. And everybody, not everybody, but like the majority of people that I know choose their partner because they had this butterflies in their stomach and this instant chemistry. And also, as textbook example, they all said, I follow my intuition. And I'm like, Elgat, 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 Elgat. Ding, 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 ding. I know where this is coming from.
Oh man. That's so, you know, I find it so interesting after I've listened to a lot of Louise Perry because she's so unpopular, but I just, it's so refreshing hearing someone just say the truth about like like sexual politics and like the reason we had barriers in place to like protect young women. Exactly, but like things like arranged marriages. Like, sure, I don't want to live in a society with arranged marriage, but it's that typical thing of, is it Chesterton's fence? Is the thing that like someone comes across a fence and just like gets rid of it immediately. And his point was that we should, when we come across a fence, we should ask why is the fence there before we take it away. And like quite liberal places tend to just like fuck all the, just overcome everything, revolution, woo, and get rid of all the old ways, not realizing why that might have been there. So something like arranged marriages was there because when young people follow their instincts, they're all like just overcome with hormones and so in love with each other and all they want is sex, and then like it's the people around them that are not in love with that person or think that person's sexy at all, and they're like, no, 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 you are not getting in a relationship with person, fuck no. And I have so many like experiences like that with people that I've met from like the woo woo HPM scene, and I was just like completely absorbed with them. I was like, oh my god, this person is amazing. And then my friends and family are like, what, like, are you serious? Like they could see sanity because they are not in this big bodily oxytocin like juicy place that I'm in.
Yeah. 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 Oh God. It just makes me think about just a number of people that they're like start this and they're like, this is amazing. I've never felt so great. Sex is the best sex of my life. And the person is really kind and loving. Can you imagine the guy? He like likes his own children from his first marriage, just like that, like the bare minimum. I was like, oh my God, he's so fantastic. He shows the signs of bare minimum of being present with me and listening to what I have to say. So many examples of that. Just like, oh, she doesn't hate more, she doesn't pressure me, she doesn't want, like, she's like, she doesn't exhibit the same controlling psychotic behaviors that my previous girlfriend did. That's the
Yeah.
standard. She's like, she's not abusive, that's why I really like her.
Yeah, I have a friend. Oh damn it, where's that thought just gone? Um, I have a friend and she wants to have a family and she said like what should I like asked for my advice, what should I be looking for in a man? And I was like, what did I say? Discipline and commitment was like the two values that I came up with for like looking for a father. Like it's not sexy, it's not juicy, but that's what you fucking need when you're gonna have a family with someone. And they were like, oh, like not like love and what was the other thing that she wanted? She was like, they have to be conscious as well. And I'm like, no, 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 they don't. The more vanilla, the better, because then at least you can have one person that is interested in talking about philosophy, and the other can be a bit more grounded in the real world and be like, that's nice. In reality, that might conflict with a few things, but we could still talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole consciousness boom. It's so bad. So many the people in the consciousness scene, which is the majority of my fucking population in Berlin. Everybody's some sort of conscious scene. Their relationships are tragic, like tragic. They're abusive, but it's for the sake of the consciousness evolve. It's like we had in such a huge fight and we screamed and we like almost got into like we almost got physical, but then we hugged and made it up, and we learned so much about, like, I'm so grateful that I've learned so much about myself, how I handle trigger, like it's like, yes, if you get into a car accident, you also learn a few things, how to learn to walk when your spine has been damaged completely. Like, of course, it's a huge learning. It takes 2 years, to restore your health after a severe injury has happened. It's in the same way with psychological damage or emotional damage. It takes years to recover from that. But because you're in a consciousness scene, you think this is growth, and you damage your brain, your nervous system for the sake of growth, which is, I don't even fucking know what that means anymore because I'm out of the field. I don't know what that means anymore. It's like, oh, it's like you're out of the system. That's your growth. You're not paying any taxes. You have no health care. That's your growth. Great. But that's not me. I used to be in that place, not anymore. So yeah, it's like the whole idea is just so perverse. So many people are really like this is what I'm talking what you and I talked about, the things that how human potential movement got out of control and how many people are now suffering due to it. So there we have a bunch of homelessness and drug addiction and pain management epidemics in the developed world. So that is also damages. But something that has been presented as this like the only amazing thing that as the cure to the capitalist world is this like freedom and liberal bullshit, blah blah, also turned a bunch of people reckless. It
Yeah,
ruined lives.
yeah. Oh yeah, so much to say while you were talking. So yeah, really juicy. I love that comparison you made to going through like a type of like conscious fight as going to it's like a really sadistic biologist putting themselves through physical harm so that they could see the harm on their body. Like it's like someone who's really knows a lot about physiology and going like, what would happen if I cut open my arm and I'll look at all the veins and stuff. Like it's the same kind of like really sick, um, self-absorbing shite basically. Like it's not to really move on, it's just to be like, let's just continue to go inwards forever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting analogy because it feels like I just like because people even use the examples of saying like, I just feel like I was like cut through or something.
I think it is. I think it's incredibly self-absorbing, narcissistic, like cyclic, self-cyclic ways of relating to each other. It never ends, and there's no kind of integration within the larger community or society. It's completely self-absorbed, and it's ironic because all these like conscious places say that they're seeking community, but then the community are also become like kind of separate from the wider community, right? They're not really part of the towns that they live in. They're not really part like contributing to the countries that they live in or doing like volunteering or anything. It is just this like these mini bubbles that are isolated from the rest of the world.
I want to continue what you're saying because I think a lot about the damage that is done because as trainers in radical honesty or any other algat or psychotherapy cult, there's like the culty people who know best and who they're invited or they go into this place that they don't live and they create little community with, like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about someone who lives in Czech Republic traveling to Germany, Costa Rica, Spain and other places to create little bubbles and communities, radical honesty. So as a trainer, when I go into another country and I leave, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no control of how the thing's going to spread, who's going to abuse it, who's going
Yeah.
to take it in. I don't know what are the people. I don't even know how those people live in that area. I just told them how they should be living according to this new philosophy that I believe in. I
Wow.
completely abandon a group of people that I just, created the like I planted a seed of bullshit and I left. And I'm like, oh, the workshop went great. I have no feedback forms. I Nobody comes back on my whatever the 2 week after the retreat calls. People are not talking to me about it, but like somebody said it was great. The workshop went fantastic. Everybody were just like, this is the best workshop in my world. The 2 minutes before I left to my train or my plane, it went great.
Yeah.
When
Oh.
exactly, that's how people feel after, when the pressure
Yeah.
is lifted, and the workshop was fantastic.
That's all the dopamine popping. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, that's such a good point that there was never any like cultural acknowledgements made for where we were going. There was no sense of like, in this country and in this town, here's how being radically honest might affect the wider religion or the wider way that society works here.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, that's a really, really good point. Well, that's what I mean, that it's like a religion. It's like the Mormons spreading. Like we're just going into places and being like, this is your God now. Bye. Like just enjoy the blow up.
Yeah. It's like I had 5 marriages, and I think those 5 marriages were a success marriages because I said so. I'm just thinking about Brad is 80 what, 80 something, 88? I don't remember, like something in his 80s. When I was in 2017 in Miami at the trainers training, which is another story, he said that he went to Sweden to visit his son and that he was on the phone with his son and his son told, you are the best dad in the world. And he was like, fuck yeah, like, if I am the best dad for this child's eyes, so it was like that's a trouble, right? That's what Brad said. And he was in his late 70s, like 78 or something.
Oh,
He has like a child of like 10 years old, 12 years old, younger maybe. So just
I,
thinking about the old man fucking with his workshop participants, young women,
yeah.
impregnating them, leaving them fucking alone, and just taking advantage of the whole thing.
Oh, that makes me so sick. I was listening to an evolutionary psychologist talk about like why it is that like disparities in age gaps are kind of shunned. Like why is it socially unacceptable? Why we don't like it? And it
Mm-hmm.
was really good. Like not least they talked about like how women tend to use shaming to keep men in line. So like if it's something, they're like, don't be too dirty. No, 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 because we'll gossip about you. No, no, no. And it's like a very important way to keep people in check is this like gossipy, shamey stuff. Fine. And then it could be the competition part that like women don't like older men going with younger women because it's like there's a intersect competition. But the best part that I thought was really good was that huge disparities in ages cause like they ring like very naturally for most people ring bells because it usually like means there's some sort of exploitation there, like whether it's like a really old man and a young woman. It's like that everyone knows there's something not like those people aren't on the same par to be able to both know what's happening. Or if it's like a super wealthy guy who's like not very attractive and it's like a super hot woman, like sometimes like people also get a bit ick about that because they're like there's some sort of something going on. And yeah, it was just really interesting hearing him give that theory that there's all these other reasons why people might shudder at it, but it is mostly because everyone ultimately agrees that there's some sort of like exploitation happening,
Yeah. I'm
and
also,
that's why it's not acceptable. Otherwise,
yeah,
it would be.
you go.
Yeah, just that like if like there like everybody tends to not like it and there was a reason for that, otherwise it would you would see it more commonly. Basically you'd
Yeah.
see more of these type of relationships, but socially they're just not allowed, they're kind of shunned, they're frowned upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking about when I reflected on my radical honesty experience, is that I am a young woman with my frontal brain hasn't even developed fully at the time, with middle age or older men in the room where they're in control and in charge, and they're just like keep this secret, and this is about me. And I'm just like assuming, and we're here, everybody's honest, like just take it all in, never doubt or question, right? Because I'm young,
Yeah.
critical thinking, not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or what you need critical thinking for, because like we're all honest here, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just thinking that it's like older people have significantly more life experience than younger people.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, the expectation would go that they should be more responsible or behave more responsibly towards people with less experience, but not in the liberal. I don't know enough about liberals, probably because I'm swimming myself in the soup of them. But you do.
But yeah, it's a really good point, and it is unusual comparative to other circles of people where that would be acknowledged, or there like are systems in place to make sure that like old people aren't taking advantage of young people. Like there's HR department. I mean, we've said this before. There's like HR departments and other organizations that don't exist in all the human potential movement organizations. Instead, it's just the older gurus hire the younger ones hire through free labor and their advice, which is like it's called mentoring in every other industry, and it's like super acknowledged that there is a dynamic going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And same like I was because I was reading a bit about mentoring. There's a few strands going on here in my head actually, but yeah, like mentoring is this kind of like unpaid thing where an older person in the industry with lots of experience kind of like just through kindness takes on someone younger to give them a bit of advice. Whereas in the human potential movement, that's turned into a paid relationship a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the time. Like either the person who's being mentored is paying them for the mentorship, and that's like that's a no-no in like a lot of other industries.
Wow, that's
Um,
what Lieber Shadburn would call it. He's like, well, me having you a trainer candidate in my workshop, I give you more benefits, so I would like you to pay me for mentoring you. That's what he would say.
aw.
Even if you're the one who organizes the workshop, it brings all your friends and family, and like if you recruit all the members that he gets to teach, you have to pay him to hear him preach and teach. That's the system that he has established in Radical Honesty.
The other thing that I was kind of thinking on in the stand of mentorship, because on the Seek Safely thing, Anne was saying how she knows so many amazing, amazing coaches that are like really like good-hearted, just really wanting to do the best, but with the just wanting to do good in the world. And then like amongst them, there's like really shady, not good people, but most of them are good, was what she was trying to say. And I had this thought that, like, I feel like life coaches are the new nuns in a world where there is no Christianity. Because this, like, in a world when there was, like, whatever religion it was, they were like nuns in the church, and they would be the ones that gave the young people the advice, like the life coaches, and they do it for free. It would be in service of the community, and there was kind of regulation because there was some like obviously there was abuses there too, but there was some sort of like Bible or rule book or whatever it was. And then human potential movement is like the new church, and life coaches are the new nuns, but they want money for it. So yeah, I was just kind of like making that comparison too, that I think this whole coachy industry is plugging into a real need because there's obviously people are suffering, um, but like not long ago, that need was filled in by like just other community members, whether it was like religious peoples or aunties or uncles or like elderly in the community. And now that's just not there anymore. It's become all these exploitative life coaches because they're not selling anything. Like what they're selling is this relationship that has gone with some sort of bridge between the young and the old,
Yeah.
that is so hard to come by. And that's what I mean by the essence of it. You can't quite put your finger on it, but there is something real that's happening there, but it's just been turned into an industry, and it's so flawed.
Yeah. Well, technically, this is what therapists saying that their job is, that the healing, that their therapeutic relationship is the healing relationship, where a therapist is the mother and the parent or the auntie or the nun or the priest. Except that the in most cases therapeutic relationship are very regulated.
Yeah, yeah.
they were supposed to be regulated for Brad Blanton, but somehow that regulation did not reach him. I wonder how. Maybe because he never got the license. That's what I'm thinking. Like, how can you get away with fucking with your workshop participants or your clients
Yeah.
with and be in a regulated industry? I just don't. I just think that he lied. I don't think he has ever been
Mm.
licensed.
Yeah. I'm thinking either he lied and or that he was around other people that were doing it too, and it was like, like there was a sort of culture of like shady shitty psych therapists that like there like maybe there wasn't. I actually like to know what years it was that he was practicing, because there will be like some sort of complementary evidence of the regulation at the time. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that there was also like just because the regulation is so strict now compared to them. I imagine there was a period where there was like people getting away with shitty behavior in power positions that just is so unacceptable now.
Yeah. Just thinking about that, like I checked some documents online. Maybe 87 he registered the Center of Well-Being, which was his house in Virginia.
Life springs.
Yeah, it reminds me of Sean. It's like, nobody can tell me what I'm doing in my living room. It's like, of course you can kill people in your living room. Nobody, like, obviously you can do whatever you want in your living room. It doesn't mean that everything that you're going to do is going to be legal. especially
Yeah,
especially if you're a licensed therapist,
yeah,
even less of the things that you're gonna do gonna be legal.
yeah.
But
There's still a lot of laws that still apply in your living room.
yeah.
Oh, boy.
Uh, you know that in 2017, when I joined the Radical Honesty trainers training with Brad and Tabor, one of the last agreement was I agreed to live or practice radical honesty for the rest of my life.
I remember that. I remember that at some point as well, but it didn't continue. But there was this like commitment for longer than the space. Yeah.
Mhm. I
Uh,
cried. I cried because and I remember my dilemma. I really wanted to agree to like to be part of the group, but internally I'm like, I feel that it's not, I'm authentically, it's a no. I'm not agreeing. But then I got overwhelmed and cried and had the what do you call it? What do you call it? The word, the orgasm. I had the catharsis. I get the catharsis and I was like, this, and then I calmed down. My brain was just completely mellow, and I go like, okay, I agree. And that was that.
brainwashing successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, also the way that we used to do hot seats, like so there was a seat and people would come and sit on it, and there would be and they could potentially have a conversation with another chair and imagine someone was there, and it would just be this like imaginary coaching session. But people were only allowed to sit in it if they promised to actually go and talk to the person. Like there was no available option to just have the experience of talking to this chair. It was like, what were the words? It was like, do you agree to go and talk to the person or something like that? But I remember that you weren't. Yeah, it was very clear. Like you weren't allowed to take part unless you were actually going to commit to it. So
Yep.
there was
We were
an added.
instructed. We were instructed by Brad and then also by the board that people only are allowed to do it if they are gonna have a conversation, because what's the other, like, why else would you do it?
Oh yeah, and then you had to
It's
ask
not that
by
you're,
when.
yeah, by when. It's not that you're working to help the participant, right? It's like you're working to spread the
Spread,
cult.
spread the religion. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This isn't about the individual's needs at all. No, 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 no. No matter what, yeah. Like even the most ridiculous situation. Yeah, fuck. Good. point to, yeah, mention here that some of those like hot seats examples involved like going back and talking to abusive people in the past, talking to like people that are really dangerous. Like there was no sort of acknowledgement between those differences in types of completion talks. It was, that was a an all-rounded rule.
Okay, so I just remembered a few days ago, I remembered that Tabor, he would share his completion talk and he would share it as like this is the standard, right? Because people were like, well, if my family member or somebody that I dated doesn't want to see me, like they have the order, the distance order, where how do you call it in English?
Oh, the
The order that you have to keep distance, right? It's like 100 meter and a kilometer is like you're not allowed to be close to that person. When you have that order, that you cannot do a completion talk. And Tabor, so he shared his story where he went to his ex-girlfriend's house and he went across the house, right? It's like trespassing, going up, seeing the girlfriend with the boyfriend, ducking like a fucking criminal. It's a fucking criminal offense story where
yeah,
he's trespassing, he is approaching a woman in her house,
restraining order.
restraining order,
Yeah,
right? So he's approaching a fucking tall guy,
yeah.
bigger, going to a woman's house because they're used to be together because he wants to talk and she doesn't, and he just talks. That's there's a meme on the internet, there's a guy on the internet who says, you don't have to take her no. Like you don't have to take her rejection. And
Pretty
people are
Brad.
exactly, and people are stitching. It's like, you're gonna go to jail if you listen to this guy's advice.
But that's exactly the scene in Twin Flames, right? Except it was a woman and she was being made to go back to this guy. But you know, she did get in major legal problems because of that, and that has been a proven cult. The Twin Flames, the whole stuff on Netflix. So yeah, it's the same. I mean, he's doing a bunch of human potential movement shit as well. Like it's the same material
Yeah.
that's been turned into a coaching industry. Yeah.
Oh, so just for people who are brainwashed and you want to feel better about yourself, and just so you know how dire the situation is that there are two documentaries that came out about the twin flame universe. It's a cult that operates on Facebook. When the documentary came out, it had 42,000 followers. Now it has 60,000 followers after the documentaries came out. So the brainwashing is that fucking good. Is
Yeah.
that good? It's not like it's that deep. It's like the problem that like there's so many vulnerable people who will disregard any kind of, like they're gonna turn the blind eye on anything that's bad if only they get to um have their pain taken away, their problem to be solved.
Yeah. Well, this is it, isn't it? Like, this is literally the need that people are needing. Like, the need is real, that people are seeking out these conscious spaces because they really do feel um, pain in some way. It's just, and it's a really shitty place to be, like, position for you and me to be in, because we're being contrarian, we're pulling it apart, and that's not a sexy position to be in because people don't want to hear that, right? Like if you're looking for this stuff and you come across like a workshop and you're making all these friends and it's wonderful, and then you hear whatever it is we have to say, like that's just, it's just, it's so disagreeable. Like you don't want to actually listen to what we're saying unless it's the after, like, and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's hard to be preventative in this
Yeah.
position because unless you've actually gone and experienced this stuff and been burned by it, you don't see it. Like it's almost like the protocol is to have the pain, go seek the workshops, then come out the workshops and look for resources where other people have been burned too. And I don't really know how to change that order either because it seems like, yeah, just kind of what you said about the 40,000 to the 60,000, that people will seek it
Yeah.
regardless of the resources that are available, and because we don't have a another option to fill that gap with.
Yeah. What's the name? It's not, is it Ted Bundy? No, there
Yeah.
was the guy who used he did not use psychedelic drugs like Ted Bundy did. He used spirituality and love to love bomb people, and eventually everybody died who stayed with him, even though police came and just leveled the whole place and everyone died within. So like,
You
because
mean
they,
the Jonestown murders, or you mean Ted?
that's the most popular. There was a smaller one, but it became big because the police really failed to realize how brainwashing works. Because the
Mm,
police thought, well, when we're gonna like threaten them, people, the hostages, like, it's like their children basically who
yeah,
stayed with the guy.
yeah, yeah. I know this is the one, the shootout that happened in America. There was a movie that was made about it recently,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The
So
Christian community. Yeah.
so I think that the police made the mistake of um underestimating the brainwashing, but it's also something that you can witness people being like, no, we're gonna stay and die together with this amazing guy who got injured, and now because he's injured, it's like the disconnection from us versus them is so huge that of course you want to protect this person that you're so loyal. Yeah, just to like grasp how dangerous it is and
Yeah.
how solid the brainwashing is, how solid the loyalty to the person that brainwashes you
Yeah.
is, something that nobody can really understand before they experience it, before they burn.
It's complete, like it just completely hijacks every one of our instincts as humans, like to connect and be part of a belief system and reinforce, like to think that we've reinforced agency, right? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Koresh. His last name is Koresh.
Koresh, that was it. Yeah, yeah.
Mm, David Koresh. My
David
God.
Koresh. That's right. Yeah. Mm.
Rose, I have a question. I wonder if you're up for answering, because it's like doesn't have to be thorough, but in your opinion, what are the similarities between radical honesty and an LGAT or a human potential movement? What similarities does radical honesty have?
Oh, good question. Now that'd be a good thing to write.
That's why it's recorded. And we don't have to be thorough, right? I'm just,
Yeah, we can put it out there.
yeah,
Well, I mean, the main one is like, so a group awareness training, an LGAT, large group awareness training. The irony is that radical honesty, they just say it's not about honesty, it's about awareness. So like all the material is centered around bringing awareness to noticing things, which is the same as the LGAT kind of theory. I think I'd say that though, like radical honesty is like an MGAT or an SGAT, like it's a small group awareness training because the LGATs are like hundreds of people in
yeah,
these rooms. And that can also sometimes be why, like, how it's different, but also like even more delicious in a way because you've got the attention of this small group. It creates a really tight knit community in the way that with the LGATs, there's this like a movement of people that are like all going through catharsis at the same time. So it's really exciting, but you don't necessarily have like this like an really intimate attention from each individual when you're like sharing stuff.
it's more individualized, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's I think why it falls under the psychotherapy codes, because it's portrayed as a group therapy. It's
yeah.
what you do in the group therapy. You sit together and you share, and then you have the facilitator who tells you what to say and what to do and when and what time and how strong and things. This is something that regulated therapy does as well.
Yeah. And then there are encounter groups, Gestalt encounter groups that are also this
Yeah.
form of group therapy slash LGAT. In the LGAT part, in that it's about awareness, and then it's a small group that sit together, and they work with the phenomenological theory. So there's not actually any material to be covered. It's just that whatever gets brought up is dealt with through the same lens of like what they're trying to teach. So with radical honesty, it's like and anything could be brought up, and all that happens is the person gets directed to how their body feels and whether they like it or don't like it in relation to someone else. And that's the kind of same thing that happens with encounter groups, that there's um, people bring up stuff and they use Gestalt. I mean, and even Gestalt's a bit of a mystery to me. I'd like to read more about what, because that still exists, like the Gestalt Institute, and there are licensed therapists that do something there. And I don't know what that is, because a Radical Honesty has just taken bits of that and bastardized it with Radical Honesty.
It's not from the Institute either. It's just from Fritz Perls. So
Yes.
because the Gestalt has split, it was Fritz Perls who was a sexual predator and he did whatever the fuck he wanted to do. He was the free libertarian, probably, that Brad copied, pasted, and then his wife and uh, other people joined and created an institute that was, it's a regulated thing and it has its own development and studies, and it's still in Germany. It's not what is it? It's not like a regulated. It's not like a proper therapy. It's not paid by the health insurance, for example. It's still like the
Right.
secret. And the attitudes of Gestalt therapy, the older attitude of Gestalt therapists are very similar to the ones of Fritz Perls and Brad. They're authoritarian and
Yeah.
abusive for the sake
Yeah.
of evoking a reaction and then trying to create a new Gestalt, a new formation of a person, which is very similar to what cults do.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why a lot of human potential movements have ended up developing into cults, because they've taken from like that side of Fritz Perls. I'm trying to think of the main like mottos in that. It's like, it's all this here and now stuff. Like everything's here and now. There's not like too much looking in the past, because that's distracting from how you feel about it now. And there's not too much looking in the future. It's just very present based work.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is the body stuff. So like it's just all focused on like the body over the mind. The mind is the source of the misery, and it is the body where you will find enlightenment. And you have to like, that's when you bring in all like the Eastern practices of trying to overcome, or take control of your thoughts. And yeah, try basically to make it, like, I find it really like deeply anti-human, because it's like trying to like make an enemy of your mind, which is this amazing thing that has made us evolve to who we are today. Like without all these components, like it's almost like regressing our evolution back to animals.
Yeah, that's what Chris Shelton said after reading the Radical Honesty curriculum, that it seems like Brad took the most normal human biology of making meaning and sense out of the world, and he put it into three categories where you can only be aware of your thoughts, your surroundings, and your internal experience. And
Mm-hmm.
then I used to say that now we're going to make it equal, when in fact it's not true. The bias or the presumption was that we're all always in our minds, as if that's a problem. And
Yeah.
it's, for the majority of people, it's not a problem. For people who are suffering from mental health issues, it
Yeah.
might be a problem, but for
Yeah.
healthy people, it's definitely not a problem. And weaponizing people's minds and making it inferior towards making the body a superior thing is a very dangerous
Mm-hmm.
endeavor, I think. Because I would have died if I listened to my body only. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And the Gestalt, like the three levels of awareness in Radical Honesty, is also stolen from Gestalt therapy, because they have a form called zoning.
mhm.
Hear the seagulls. um, the zoning is the same thing. There's like a heady level. There's like an inside your, like there's a body part that's separate from your head, and then there's like your environment that's outside your body. Yeah.
Yeah. And so also the whole thing, Brad's description of a mind is a description taken from Dianetics, which is from Ron
Scientology.
Hubbard, Scientology. The reactive mind is Scientology invention. The fact that the mind is a recorder, it's also Scientology. There's no truth, there's no evidence of it, which is something, interestingly, they already cleaned up the language on the website. So they took away all the culty stuff, including the reactive mind. So the reactive mind, the untrustworthy reactive mind, is already not on the website. But I wonder how they, like, how do they make sense of the teachings right now? Because none of the teachings are
Basis.
radical. There's no radical honesty in general. It's like I imagine also is an exercise from Scientology. Awareness continues from Gestalt. Hot seat work is also watered down from Gestalt. The shoulds game, though, I wonder where, like, every LGAT in the human potential movement has some sort of form of shouldism and shoulds game. And
Morality, mind fuckery. Yeah, like what are the rules that we create for ourselves and how can we overcome them is a very, very human potential movementy thing. It's not unique at all. Yeah. The noticing and imagining thing is really interesting because that is like what Scientology call, that's part of their technology, and that's also what Landmark calls their technology as well. Like it's this secret, and that's something that radical honesty does very similar in that it's like the protected thing that they want everyone to get by the end of the workshop. What they want everyone's minds to understand is this difference between um, like what you see and the meaning that you make from what you see. And it's so stupid. Like it is just so fucking simple, but they're like packaging it like it is this priceless thing to get through life. And actually that's cognitive behavioral therapy. Like reframing, it's called thought reform. And that's essentially what these like trained therapists work with. And I didn't realize that radical honesty trainers are just teaching are just not taught to teach CBT, but we're using CBT to try to change how people see the world and see themselves.
And CBT, and then they shit on CBT as like this like stupid form of therapy.
Yeah. How else is radical honesty similar to LGATs and HPM?
Well, I also find it important that reporting what you notice without filtering in those three categories is also a regression technique, is how people remain regressed and remain vulnerable. And the vulnerability is such a big
Yeah.
sales point, probably because in the human potential movement as well, it's like vulnerability is your biggest strength. In the tantric world, it's a huge thing. Everybody wants you to be vulnerable because that's what makes you strong. And in fact, I've learned in my own experience with radical honesty trainers is that they, like, the people who are in power, they settle only then when I go inwards and be vulnerable, and don't have any boundaries or any requests, or like I have no mental model that I'm seeking, so I have to become this like a soft jelly, like whatever the way you like move me, I'm gonna go with that. And that vulnerability is considered like you get radical honesty then, because you get to be not righteous or
You
not
embodied it. Yeah, yeah.
thinking. You embodied, exactly, thank you. Like literally I had to like suck my attention, bring my attention inwards and become this like inward. My tone of voice would get lower. It's like I have
Whatever
to submit.
is. Yeah.
I had to submit, and whenever I would submit, it's a basically a submission technique. I was like, I cannot impact you. There's like I cannot reach out or seek any outcome. I cannot control anything that's outside of me. I can only report what I notice in my experience, which is a form of submission. And then this kind of reporting without filters, it just makes me completely vulnerable, like a
Yeah.
child.
I find it also so disempowering because it's like you it's like accepting, like I can see a point where someone is trying so hard to control parts of their life and things that they can't control, and so you're teaching this essence of like if you release control, obviously you're going to feel better. But if you completely submit control to how the world is, there would be no activism. Like if you completely submit to how people can treat you, you're just like over analyzing and making excuses for abusive behavior. Like it is just this constant like, oh, whatever it is, I'll just allow anyone to do anything to me and I'll be able to manage it because I can feel my sensations.
Because I can transcend.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh, gross.
Because abuse and violence in persons is just your story.
A very convenient story, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? It's so convenient. If Brad and the tax person in the tax
Yeah.
office, so Brad would be like, you need to like be more vulnerable and report and be more honest and just report what you notice so that I can conveniently fuck with you and be, what is it, like do some criminal activity because I don't want to be caught or stopped or anyhow impacted. It's like, that's, if you stop me, that's controlling.
Also, like, just imagine the so yeah, this you're working on your computer, some asshole comes in and drops all these coins on you, and you have to count them to make sure they're accurate for this fucking asshole. And then, like, okay, well, now imagine that guy knows radical honesty too, so he can start shouting at Brad and saying, like, fuck you, I resent you for putting the coins on the floor. And then these two are at each other, and like no work gets done that day, and someone's missed out on their benefits because these two fucking like infantile toddlers are shouting at each other, creating a scenario that everybody knows is unacceptable. Like, if you just from the very beginning behaved in the like morally acceptable way, the person downstream would have got their benefits that day because the form would have been filled in. Like, it's just, it's so disruptive and kind of um like like unnecessarily disruptive in something that's quite like common sense.
Yeah. Just thinking about what Etane once said. Etane, who lives in Belfast, and when Brad or Tabor were teaching radical honesty, she said that you guys wouldn't last a day in Northern Ireland with this attitude, with this behavior. You wouldn't last a day. You would be eaten fucking alive. And I'm just thinking about if I would bring a bunch of coins in Lithuania in the
Yeah.
bank, like, we're not accepting it.
Yeah. Out. Yeah. Done. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing with like, this is why the HPM shit is like a upper to middle class issue, because the working class, like, not only do they not have time to kind of like indulge in the philosophy and like fucking yeah have all this time on their hands to think about how they could be more actualized as an individual. um I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, there's like there's very tight knit rules for survival, like for everyone to get along, and these rules just break them. They break them. Like, I mean, a very basic example is the um. So there's an author, Rob Henderson, and he writes about his experience in the foster care system and then going into university. He got a really great degree, a great scholarship to go to a really good university in America, and he cannot talk to these other students because it's a whole different world. Like, he doesn't understand all these languages that they're talking about, um because they just, no one talked about it in the world that he came from. One of them was polyamory. He was like, I don't understand like what you guys are talking about. Back where he came from, it was like men cheating, like people weren't like, what's the word, you didn't get conscious group of men talking about how to make each other less jealous and have multiple partners. They were just cheating on each other. It was just lots of like single families. It was really sad. And he was saying how if you put, he was on Tinder, and in a 5 mile radius, all the women that like everyone was polyamorous in the community of the university. And then if you set it to 10 miles, it was all single mums. So
Mm-hmm.
like the social rules were broken, as in like, just let's throw out all these like dating conventions that have existed for millions of years, and let's all just like indulge in our instincts because like who are we? We're obviously much better than all the history of people that have come before us, and we can do better. And then the real downstream effect of that is there's all these like single moms that live in the neighborhood because none of the dads are sticking around to support the moms.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also thinking about like if, my God, if like any of these conscious men worked offshore, they would be eaten alive. Like this like therapeutic language. Like, it's just not gonna last. Um Not gonna last, sorry. Just it doesn't work well with cohesion. Environments where cohesion is really important.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's a very disruptive philosophy, and it only works if you're in works. It can only really be indulged if you're in positions of privilege where like cohesion is happening anyway, basically.
Uh, White Boys Privilege Club. That's how Etane described radical honesty, a privilege
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not surprised because it does provide a certainty, security, sense of community. You feel empowered. You can just scream and like punch fist and just like be fucking erratic toddler. And people go like, wow, that's so brave of you to be so messy. And it's like, yeah, I'm a hot mess. And you're like, like fucking what's the American movie about the mediocre the what's the word? It's like the American going really
Psycho? Oh,
hmm?
sorry, American Psycho?
No, there's an American movie about like a bunch of really rich privileged people become very dumb and be like it's like cheering the most stupid behavior. And I think this very similar happened in Radical Honesty workshop. It was like, I am miserable, and go like, wow, that's so brave of you to share that you're miserable. Or if a trainer shares something, like reveals something stupid, like I have a horrible marriage. I go like, oh my God, it's so brave of you to share in the trainer position, to be so vulnerable and
Mhm.
share that you have horrible marriage and a horrible life and have no friends and things like that. And people just gonna be like, yeah, just cheering on
Yeah.
dysfunction.
I'm gonna try. I just had a thought, and I haven't really formed it yet. But there's something about radical honesty that's very like it can't get any bigger. Like it has, it's very temporary, and it has to be small because it relies like exactly that. The excitement of someone telling something really vulnerable and honest is only exciting because everyone else acts normally, like because everyone else is just taking part in normal society. So like it needs everyone else to be normal for it to be um, valuable. Like if everyone just acted like a radical honesty workshop, like the whole that did spread to the whole world, for example, it's suddenly like not so exciting to hear someone else be vulnerable. So there's no kind of like acknowledgement that like the rest of the world is making a huge sacrifice of like I don't know to submitting
Freaking
some
trauma
form of
dumping.
authenticity for the greater good of the world so that we can all like play and see how exciting it is to see what it's like if we do all become really authentic and follow our animal instincts,
Yeah, if
like
you're all
one
5-year-old.
relies on the other. Yeah.
That is a very good point. It's also a very big one. I'm trying to connect the dots here. It's like it's really at some point people go like, oh, I just like I cannot hear any more trauma dumping. It's like it's just so
Yeah.
annoying. It's like, oh come on. It's like because if you're gonna be radical honesty is like it's like you tell the truth and people love you, right? So you're gonna be like loved for whoever you are. And there's like people who are neurotic, who come with all kinds of pathologies, including neuroticism. And you're like, I'm just noticing that I say, do you judge me? Do you judge me now? What about now? I just think that you don't like me? Well, I just feel tension in my body. I think that all of you are judging me right now. Are you judging me right now? So it's like really crazy fucking people come into those workshops and they're honest about their fucking crazy. So a trained specialist would be like, okay, so we need to screen these people out so that they get proper, appropriate, professional help. But because radical honesty trainer like, yay, this function is amazing. Come and share yours, but not with me. Don't annoy me because I'm just gonna yell at you or whatever. Say I'm gonna start to set hard boundaries. Then
Mm.
I'm gonna be like, yeah, sure. I'm just gonna sit and listen to you scream at me. And then just so you get like the number of panic attacks I had while talking to my co-trainers because they scream, you fucking cunt, fucking. It's like the fucking verbal violence that I endured, and as a result, I was sitting and I was having panic attacks within the radical honesty is fucking stupid. I thought that I am like I'm healing of some or something because I'm having a panic attack when in fact I was
Yeah.
experiencing the results of being violently, abused or yelled at. Something also that I've learned from Ann Peterson that you cannot consent to verbal abuse.
Yeah.
Psych in radical honesty, there's no such thing as verbal abuse. It's just the love language of resentment and appreciation.
Yeah.
Like I resent you because I love you and I want to deeper my connection because I feel uncomfortable around you. So I'm gonna scream at you right now and go like sit and take it in like a fucking zombie. So yeah. proper help for those, like, yeah, and if everybody, if the whole idea of like, I want to live in an honest world where everybody is honest, well, the world consists of Donald Trump, who is like, I'm all about the truth, the elections were rigged and I want the truth to come out, and a bunch of people like, we want the truth, and it's like, well, this is the truth, like, no, 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 this is no, that's not the truth, like what Donald Trump says is the truth because he's the actual truth teller. And in the world where Andrew Tate lives, right, in the world where Putin is also going to Africa and saying, well, Ukraine and I, we have signed a peace treaty and they're just disrespecting, and NATO is actually an offensive organization, and Africans go like, wow, Putin is really honest guy and he's telling the truth.
Mm.
We're living in that kind of world where pathology is high. And
Yeah,
people gonna believe whatever you're gonna tell them if you're sound confident, if you're charismatic, if you have some sort of benefit to the people.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean, this is the tricky thing with the word truth, right? Like
Mhm.
it's so subjective. And that's why I remember Kim Scott, the author of Radical Candor, said that the reason why she named her organization Radical Candor and not Radical Honesty, um, was because she thinks honesty is this kind of like if you say to someone like I want to be, can I be honest with you? Her words were like, that makes me think I have the God-given truth, like I know what the truth is, whereas she prefers to say, can I be candid with you? And that, like, there's that subtle distinction, is like somehow owning the, like, this is my opinion and I'm going to tell you my opinion truthfully, but it's not like it is the truth, it's just this is my opinion. And it's really tricky on like a global level, you're right. But when it comes to like leaders, they're not speaking truths, but they're speaking what a huge populist movement want them to hear. And it's not necessarily the truth, it's just what they want to hear. And it's the same with radical honesty. It's not honesty, it's just what people want to hear. They want to hear someone say, like, justify the whininess, justify the, what's the word? Like, responding to situations without maturity. Like, just be, like, just,
Be messy.
yeah, sorry?
Be messy. Justify messy.
Yeah, be
Dysfunction.
messy,
Be
be
dysfunctional.
dumb, be stupid. Like we are gonna, and it's, and I think that's what, when people come across it, it's so different, right? Because usually in the rest of society, rightly, people are trying to help people behave in a way that helps them navigate the world. But in radical honesty, you suddenly come across this group of people, and they're like, "No, just do what you want. Like, look at us," but are also not being forthright about the fact that the trainers anyway don't make a living, don't necessarily practice it in their life either. It's just a front, like you said, with the leaders like Putin and Trump, etc. It's a front to give the people what they want, which comes with all sorts of, yeah. It's not honesty. It's there's another word. I don't know what the word is. It's something like a chameleon. Like, you know how they change their shape depending on the environment. Like it's like I don't know, like Brad or whoever, has that very good ability to be who their customer needs them to be, and then label it as honesty.
Yeah, and Brad said that he's a charlatan, but only in relation to this mental model where he would teach that he stole from Sufis, and I haven't found it anywhere. The Sufi stuff. I wonder whether he just invented it, or somebody who said, I'm a Sufi, self-proclaimed one, and here is the model that I was taught from my grandmaster. That was like never met. Um, yeah, and in that model, he would be laughing and be like, well, that's the level of charlatan. That's the level that I teach. And people go like, ha, 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 this is so funny. So Brad was very good at saying, well, this is a cult,
Yeah,
or saying that radical honesty is a re-traumatization thing. We do re-traumatize people. So he was telling the truth, but because he was joking, he was
yeah,
laughing at it, people would not make it into a big deal.
yeah. But he also wouldn't, like, he would say it's a cult and he would say it's re-traumatization, but he wouldn't tell people what those things actually meant. Because like I've heard him say it's a cult, and I was like, ha ha, how funny! Like I don't know what a cult is,
Yeah.
but you know he wouldn't. actually share the definition or the dangers or other examples. And then same with the re-traumatization thing. I think I didn't really know what that word meant until I experienced it. Like I just thought it was just exposure to sensation. I didn't really understand about the fragmented parts of the mind or the long-term effects. Like I just thought it was a because there's like speaking of the listening to your body thing, there's another like status game within radical honesty, which is like how much can you tolerate, like how much sensation can you experience, and if you can, you're like top student.
Yeah.
I mean, I went so far with this in that I didn't actually this is so embarrassing. I'm also really glad that it happened, but it was because of radical honesty that when I gave birth, I didn't want any medication because I wanted to feel what birth felt like. Because I had this concept that I could take it because I've experienced so much sensation that surely this is also just sensation. And that's true, but I would never recommend anyone else to do that too. Like it took months of like I did a course like this positive birth company stuff where they taught all these meditations to do before birth so that you're actually training your body to respond like dog training, like respond training your body to respond to stimuli. So I'd like meditate with a certain song so that when the song came on while I was giving birth, my body would associate with the song. It wasn't because I was actually sitting and training just like sitting and experiencing the sensation, but that's like a downstream effect, and I was so proud of myself. I was like, I'm so fucking good at radical honesty. I can like do this most extreme thing. Oh.
Yeah, I think that being part of radical honesty kind of closed my access to information outside of the bubble, outside of the cultiverse, where I had no, like, I would just assume that I know what a childbirth is because I had the feeling that I know, because the feeling knowledge is the superior knowledge over the thinking mind, which is not trustworthy according to the website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I also did not take painkillers in my period pain. I believe that it's like I can, if I be with it, it will go away.
Oh god, that's a huge issue right now with it's probably human potential movement mixed with like super organic culture or like anti-medicine culture, like these all kind of mix into each other because they're all like unregulated fields, but they're like quite often when people are in teaching conscious relating stuff, they might also do spiritual stuff or might also teach like crystal tea or healing body stuff like this, like not real psychotherapists, not real physiologists, not real doctors. Is a whole other industry. And
And
yeah, you're so right, there's this this other concept that comes in with the body stuff where there is like an anti-pain medication, your body can take it. I saw like the Joe Dispenza thing on Conspirituality Instagram post today. It was about this doctor who was trying to say to Joe Dispenza that his patient will not take any of the cancer treatment. She's just believing in the energy stuff of him. And he's saying, can you please, like, can you, like, she's not eating, she's wasting away. She really believes that this is going to heal her. Can you please fucking speak to her or something like that? So yeah, that's the other angle that radical honesty can take. Even though that like each individual trainer, I think, had their different opinions about those things, but still you have so much influence in that space.
yeah, so radical honesty is turning in like the way AA works, the same way radical honesty works, right? You have a bunch of trainers who are traveling across the world teaching and leaving, and then they leave, whatever happens. Like nobody knows what really happens. AA does the same thing, which like when you ask AA, it's like, hey, what about this trainer of yours? What about this training of yours? The AA said, we have no responsibility because we're not in control of what our trainers do in each. Like our trainers have individual views, and we're not controlling individual views or practices and so and so. The same way in radical honesty as well. And there's dangers to that. And I'm just remembering that in 2022, when I was in Corfu, we had a participant who was on his ADHD medication. And I was there with Marvin, and the guy said, well, I was just diagnosed with ADHD, and I just started taking this medication maybe like 3 months ago or a month ago. It was like, do you recommend me continue taking it, or radical honesty will fix my ADHD, will heal that.
Ugh.
And I was just like,
There's
oh,
no
this
sorts
is
of, sorry, quick intervention. There is no sort of neurodiversity training in radical honesty courses anywhere, ever. Yeah.
or any kind, like, so radical honesty is, it doesn't really have any training where you have a bunch of, like, if a licensed therapist who just got his license like a year ago, he's like, well, this is how I work with my therapy clients, this is how I do therapy. Nobody's like, there's no training, they're just modeling, well, this is how I work in my little bubble out there in that part of the world where the laws and regulations are completely different than where you are at. Right. So there is no training in anything in radical honesty. The training that I got in radical honesty was not really in the training. I thought that the training is me doing therapy, basically. So the training that I got outside. But anyway, so there were 3 facilitators in that Corfu retreat. And I was like, you do you, you take care of yourself. The assistant trainer candidate, she's like, yeah, I want you to like take care of yourself. And Mara's like, well, I just don't believe, I think that the big pharma is the problem. And I just don't believe in big pharma. And I don't believe that you have to take those medications. And the participant decided not to take the medications. But he did not tell us. I asked him a few days later, and it's like, are you taking the meds? And he said no. And he like had so much energy, like he had the symptoms of not taking the meds, so obvious. Oh, and I did not know what to do because I didn't think that I'm in a position to tell the participant what to do and what not to do, blah, blah, blah. That whole brainwashing, did not know. And Marvin and I, we had such beef, where he's like, again, calling me fucking names, fucking cunt. It's like, I resent you. Just like, you're such a fucking bitch. I have a friend who's like, who I think he does not need any medication and he's taking it anyway because his therapist is prescribed. Like, he fucking yelled like a madman at me for that. And again, I was just yelling at him back. And it's like what pisses me off is that I try to keep the script. Like, I would never call him names. I would never like,
Right. Yeah.
right. But there was no reciprocity in that. Like, he would label all kinds of misogynistic terms. And I would listen to that and it would calm down, and that was it. It's like I could not impose my opinion and I could not change his opinion. Like, there's nothing that I could do. It's like, you have a problem, you get over it. That's all. And so the participant, after leaving Corfu, never reached out. We don't know what happened to him. I sent him an email, no response. And then, so I reported, Mac told me that I have to report everything suspicious in my workshops. That was like when I was in Costa Rica. I was like, oh, I didn't know that I have to report everything that's suspicious. I've never been given that instruction to like report back to the board if there's any kind of like concerns or worries in your workshops. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna report. So I reported Tony and I reported Marvin. And then Marvin came back to me like 6 months later saying, I have reflected and you're right, that like I believe that people should not stop taking their medications in my consult workshops, right? Was it like, but the stress that I went through, the consequence that we will never know what this person experienced, the consequences.
Yeah.
Was it fucking worth it for this guy to arrive at the conclusion, now I got it?
Yeah.
You're fucking adult and it's taking you for so fucking long to realize that you're preaching conspiracy theories, basically.
Yeah. And yeah, you're not a doctor. This is not your patient. You have no right to call that. Yeah.
And he has no training working with people either. It's like, this is what pisses me off. It's like, you have no qualifications, no experience working with people, and you're giving such advices. It's terrible.
It's really bad. Yeah, I mean, along the same lines, that is actually what's similar with radical honesty and the LGAT stuff. Because LGAT's like, well, I don't know if it is LGAT, but it's typically there is restriction on like food, on like when people are, what people are being fed, when they're being fed, and the intensity of the like seminar. Essentially, there's not a lot of rest, and there's the food that's given is typically like vegetarian. It's like, what's the word? For each person's ration, like portion controlled. You know, there's not like
Mhm.
unlimited amounts for everyone. And I remember when we were in uh, Scotland last year, and then loads of people wanted meat, and we were like, okay, well, let's get meat, and then we did, and the energy that came back to like specifically the men were just like, holy fuck, like I feel so much more energized now because they're so lethargic with all these vegetables.
Yeah.
When they're not used to eating them. So that, and that's very typical of these like intense personal development workshops, because there is that it's a form of like submission. It's a way of making people submit. Yeah, but it's not acknowledged. It's dressed up in this like cleansing of the body kind of thing. When again, like radical honesty is not a homeopathy, like, you know, there's nothing to do with like body health, even though that like little messages come in like that, like we're, if you communicate this way you will be healthier. Like, oh my god, that's a fucking thing that I used to give, with a spiel about my skin and how shit my skin was, and then I did radical honesty and then my skin was magically better. And like I'm not a dermatologist, I don't fucking know like if that actually helped at all, or like if a bunch of other stuff was a thing that happened there. But there's a lot of like just so magic stories like that. Like there was pre, and then radical honesty came along, and voila. And that's also common with LGATs.
Yeah, and also using personal examples from like friends and family. It's like, well, my friend did this and therefore it works. Or it's like, well, I have experienced this, therefore it works. There's no evidence-based
Yeah. Mm.
anything. There's no backing. The backing is, well, somebody felt this way, so it must be true.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking in terms of similarities to the human potential movement, that document that we've got that critiques it is just so spot on. Like it's on the nose with all the critiques of radical honesty. And I actually sent that to someone recently because I had a, because we had the call from the Scotland workshop, and
Mm-hmm.
in that call, like nobody does radical honesty anymore. Everyone from that call is like somehow moved on, and we kind of talked about that. And when I shared, I was sharing about how it's been a bit of like, I feel like I've left a church, in that like my belief system has just broken down, and there's like a lot of grief that comes with that, and then like realizing that the God that I believed in wasn't ever real, and there was many that existed, and there's just so many of them, and there's nothing unique or special about it. Um, and someone on that call said they were kind of blown away by this comment. They were like, what do you mean it's not unique or special? And I sent them that document, the like critiquing of the human potential movement, and I was like, this is how it's not special. Like read that and think everything that was unique to radical honesty, like, and then all the critiques that would also be unique to it exist to this whole movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I talk about one thing, there's like five more stories pop up. It's just like I
Yeah.
just catch up with everything. And then once I'm done, then I forgot what I wanted to say. So there's a lot.
Should we stop the recording for today and then do another one?
Well, now we can.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Just allergic to all
To
this
be continued.
BS.
Oh.